so much for coming on the show. You are the CEO of WizeLine. You started this just a few months ago. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
So let's start with that. How did you get to be the CEO of WizeLine? Tell us about yourself.
So I was CEO of another company before that called Softvision. I took a little bit of a break after that run, and I spent a few months doing consulting work and board roles that I used to have. And I'm in software, so WiseLine is all about software, digital transformation. So I got a bit tired of like that plural kind of multiple things without any kind of big plan. And I found so the founder of WiseLine was I was advising one of my roles. Normally, I've scaled companies, these types of companies, product engineering, software tech companies, from small to medium to large, and then we either sold the company to a strategic player in the space or went public. And I've been in those two situations before in my career. So I thought it was like a good moment to jump in. I really liked the company. I liked the culture. And I saw a huge opportunity ahead with all the upcoming AI trends and everything that we can do, incorporating AI in the whole cycle of how we do the work. And so I jumped in.
Tell us more about what WizeLine does.
WizeLine is a software company where it's sort of a software innovation space. We create from innovative sort of consumer grade type of products like apps and rich UI games, all the way down to complex AI heavy data products. So it's kind of a gamut of products, mostly very, very strong in media products, from newsroom pipeline tooling all the way down to content management, streaming applications and services, to e-commerce, typical e-commerce online system. So it's pretty wide, but very well specialized in media, entertainment products, retail products, financial services. That's kind of like where we normally gravitate in what we do. Always with an air of a transformation, right? So normally the company is more of a traditional company that has gone like either in retail or on financial services, and they need a kind of an innovator that helps them accelerate go to market in some of the, if they want to change or improve customer experience, improve employee experience, augment roles now with AI. So they need a player that can actually help them out comprehensively, not just throwing a piece of tech to them. That's normally when they come to us.
And you mentioned AI a couple times here. How do you think that's going to change everything, particularly in the media space? That's really interesting where, I mean, there's this idea now of like AI newsrooms, even AI media, and like obviously ChatGPT and others like it are pretty good at writing content currently. And so how do you see AI affecting the media landscape?
We see it mostly as a productivity tool, but we don't see it as a replacement tool at all. We see it more of an augmentation tool. But again, at the end of the day, a tool. For example, we've created co-pilots for journalists. Copilot for journalists. What is it? I mean, it helps you write in your voice, but it's your voice, and it's you curate that content. We've created like media transcription tools, like so then live media, an interview, for example, like this comes in, it could be transcribed online, content categorized, it could give you hints so that you can publish to social media. It's a really nice like productivity opportunity for us, but it does not replace, not in a bit. It actually helps really be a little more strategic, improve your research. It gives you time to do a better job. Now this era of disinformation is great. Just can cross-check, figure it out, where the actual sources of the data, so you know exactly. So for our journalists, for news, it's a fantastic opportunity, but used well. So everything that we've done so far, as we plug them into their pipelines, the content production pipeline, it's always curated. There's nothing like, oh, I just this thing is gonna go solo. Just that's more of a, like we used to call it now, a hallucination than reality.
Yeah, that seems to be that's my sense as well on that. What does a typical day look like for you?
Pretty dynamic, and there's no single exact week for me, and that's a bit hard. First of all, during onboarding, and this is my second round as like a professional CEO, so I think I'm doing it a little bit more organized this way. I didn't know what to expect the first time. So I'm traveling a lot in the beginning because I have to see clients and teams. And the company is international. As international, we have around 2,000 people. So we, different countries, and I have to go places. So I've been traveling a lot. Um, so that's why my week doesn't look the same, because it's 1 week, 1 day there. When we stabilize that, normally, my Mondays, I have a team with my directs, a team meeting with my directs. It's about 90 minutes. And then we go off and do our things. We keep a backlog of all the strategic things that we need to do. And then there are a few kind of meetings that they're cadence, where we measure forecasts, and we look at the finances, and we look at team status, etc. And then there's normally either in that week an event, client meetings, all the time, depending on where I am. I'm based in New York. My kind of workplace is New York City. So normally there's a lot of kind of meetings and activity, kind of, because New York City is kind of a meeting point. People come to the city. And if I'm not here, then I'm probably at another office, getting people together, running a summit. We're about to do an offsite. We do some of these every couple quarters. I still need to do the first with my team, because this is my fourth month. There's an order to chaos, but it's a bit chaotic, because also I need to respond to specific. There's a new deal, large deal coming in. Okay, then one CEO kind of blessing on the deal. Let's go meet the people. We also have investor side, because the company is it is not, obviously it's not standalone, it's private equity backed. So we have board meetings, and we have board sessions and strategy sessions, etc. So it's very rich of things. I have a team that kind of a CEO office that does all that coordination, that also not only manages my agenda, but also all my executive team's agenda. So we are all coordinated. Otherwise, it's very hard to keep track of, okay, are we actually looking at the same goal? Like, are we compatible in everything that we're doing, or we're like off doing whatever? I'm not the great friends of having too many one-on-ones, because then you have 7 different plans that are not coordinated depending on direct reports. So I
Yeah.
normally like to have more of our industry is more of a team sport. It's a people business. So we need to also take care of what's going on with the team, and there's a lot of hiring all the time going on in different locations, so we'll also look at those metrics. So there is a time for everything, but I would say that normally you have that team meeting, you have clients in the week, and then there's something to do with sort of an event for people. That's kind of this. It happens almost every week, and obviously you have flights, but
What's the best piece of leadership advice you've ever received?
I think that from my perspective is like, what's your energy, like where you are, your energy levels, and where is, because depending on what you're where you are, I mean, you're high energy or low energy, and it depends on the day, and it depends on whether you're sick or you're okay or you're feeling pumped, and what happens in your personal life. It projects immediately. And the things that we do, CEOs, they multiply downstream. So, or what we say, or we do, or we show, it normally multiplies. And the negative stuff multiplies very, very quickly. So it's very important to watch how you feel, because that is immediately picked up. People are always looking at you, and they might be silent, they might be quiet. They don't. Doesn't matter. It ripples. So I think I wasn't aware of that, to be honest,
Mm.
and I wasn't a CEO just yet, but I used to be very high in high fast pace. and I wasn't checking. You know, I I'm moving. Am I checking? I wasn't that aware of what was going on around me, and I was already pretty high end, high up in the stack in the hierarchy of the organization, and I was having a few problems, and I didn't know what's synchronization, people not catching up, people not following. It's like, what's going on? Frustrations, like what's going on? And it was, I had a part in that. Then I kind of you can start to learn and check. So go, well, I'm probably going too fast. Let's slow down. Let's catch up. And also,
What
how is it that in your meetings you're projecting, right? So if I'm
Yeah.
high energy, normally it's great, but kind of have to regulate, right? Look at the energy
Yeah.
around the room. Are they contributing, not contributing? It becomes a solo show sometimes.
Yeah.
And it happens, right? It happens. It will happen to any of us, that you sometimes you're just on your own track, and you need to get 20 things done, and then you go on one, like that, and then maybe you know 20% gets actually done, because it doesn't depend on you 100%.
What are you reading? And what reading recommendations would you have for other leaders?
I'm doing now. I got into a book that my wife gave me, which is the it's very interesting actually. It's the 48 I think, what is, I have it here, the 48 laws of power. um
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's a very interesting, I hadn't read it, and I read by kind of just interest, but I like the kind of the historic background to some of those. And I don't adhere with everything that I read in that book, but it's interesting as a kind of a holistic understanding of what power and control mean, and how people would react and all that. It's just interesting for awareness, not as a kind of a guidebook. It's more
Yeah.
about information. You don't want to do everything that, or say, or do everything that's in that book, but at least it gives you some of that. So it's just a kind of an off book for me. I read a lot of kind of. I read a lot of art. I'm up, not some books. I read all the time, different articles. I actually watch YouTube a lot on interpretations of historic events and things. I think I find it super amusing what people think about things.
Yeah.
And again, I don't take it as a law, or like, oh yeah, I'm going to believe this or that guy. I just want to just how they came to that conclusion. I am more interested in the process than that. And then it kind of helps you in that way. I think that helps me understand how people think and where they're coming from. So it gives you an idea of be a little bit more open-minded, because there are certain things that I certainly don't adhere with what I hear. But I'm a big YouTube. It's crazy, but I'm a big YouTube consumer.
No,
I
I'm the
like that.
same. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's really
yeah,
interesting. In fact, I want to kind of double click on that because, we live in a time and a world where what you think is who you are or what you express is who you are, and who even like what you consume is who you are in
yeah.
a way, right? And I think what you said there was really interesting is like it's actually not
No,
who you are. What you're doing is you're just learning and listening and trying to get all these different sorts of perspectives and just getting a sense for what other people think. And there's nothing wrong with listening or learning from people you even would disagree with or you're just interested in.
no, and so the thing, I think it's kind of a matter of balance, because in my job I'm always kind of forefront, like they're looking at you for decisions. You have to come up, be proactive. Obviously, the strategy comes normally from me, and then we work it with a team. So when I'm on my own, like I have my own time, I like to observe, because it's a way for me to relax. But that doesn't influence who I am. I learn, right? So I like to, for example, I use YouTube a lot to update myself on code, like, because I'm an engineer, like, by trade, right?
Yeah.
So that's where, but it's very hard to keep updated in tech, like really tech subjects, like very high, like low tech, like coding and now the impact of Gen AI, for example, in coding. I wanted to understand it myself. So I go and somebody is like, oh, okay, I did this and this and that, and then I reproduce it. But I observe and I try to learn, and I mean, I'm pretty selective when I'm looking at something. Okay, well, this is too, I'm not interested. Just I pass it. But more of an observance than that. And if you look at me, I mean, I'm a bit active more on like the professional networks like LinkedIn, but I'm not a active social person, because most of the time is I'm observing. I'm like looking,
Yeah.
learning. I don't really have time to be posting all the time. It just gives me a lot of stress. I hate doing that. So it's not, maybe organized podcast. I could do. We're trying to do something like that, but I'm a little bit of a rebel. I'm not like Twitter. Like if you look at my Twitter account, it's like, but I don't have time, and it's not in me. I rather,
Yeah.
and I rather kind of look at what's going on.
What are the three most important leadership traits you believe that any leader should have, or what you've experienced with leaders or yourself as you think about what it means to be a leader? What are kind of like maybe like three most important leadership traits?
I think that, from a personality standpoint and what you really drives you, I mean, excellence, not ego. Excellence versus ego. I think that that's very important for me. It's I love developing talent. For example, I mean, we're, as a software company, we have a bunch of engineers, bunch of designers, bunch of product managers, like a bunch of testing people, and it's great to work in a team where you see how people grow. I strive for excellence. If you're driven by ego, it's tough. I mean, I'm not that kind of person, and I think that that's a trait that is sometimes very difficult to distinguish one or the other, because if I can be very aggressive striving for excellence, and I could be perceived that like this is a maniac that wants everything to be improving all the time. But it's because of that. It's because I'm raising the bar, but not because I feel good by just controlling, right? Control.
Right.
The second thing I would say is listening. Listen, like observe and listen. What's going on? It's super important, because you work. I mean, you're nothing except without a team. It's like, I mean, doesn't. I can be very smart, but if I don't have a team that responds, that really is engaged and understands strategy, and they can actually contribute to strategy and can challenge me, it won't create a great business. And I've been successful in my previous businesses because I always want to provide that environment to listen. So if people are quiet, I feel anxious, because I want to get, okay, tell me what's going on. And so in that, the listening has to have also an element. I think it's important, and I'm working that out now as I'm onboarding as a CEO, but I'm not through yet. Is the elimination of fear, because any change, people don't know you yet, and they don't know me yet, because this is my 4th month. There is an element of fear, and I pick up on it. It's just people are not totally relaxed, and people have different times, huh? Some of them relax before, and they're like, okay, less risk averse, so to speak. Others are more risk averse. So you kind of have to tolerate that until they stabilizes and they start to speak freely, comfortable, right? So that's important. And I would say, what's the third one? And I just had it and it left me. So the fear is absolutely important to address. And the third is so the ability just create that community in the company, like that
Mhm.
ability to create groups that can operate and thrive on their own just by connecting and sharing. And it's very difficult to achieve. I mean, at least from my perspective, the bigger the company, the more difficult it is. So in all my companies, and now I'm going to Guadalajara, where we have a big team in a couple of weeks, to sit down with the team and fully develop what's the community model, how do we train, how do we promote, how do we make sure that everybody has access to coaching, mentoring, how do we make it real? And a lot of companies, this stuff is in paper, great, it's fantastic, but in reality it doesn't happen as it's written. And it's very important to focus on that, because that actually gives you credibility and it amplifies your employee value proposition. And it makes people feel like, okay, belonging in this organization really not only makes me feel good, but also I'm learning, I'm improving in my career. But without that community environment, there's no engagement.
Mm.
So, it's written, it's in the manuals, it's in the HR profile, and these are all the different levels and skills and soft and hard. Great. But if there's no engagement, if there's nobody that can ask, hey, I wanna do, I wanna be in data, I wanna be a data scientist. How what are the steps? I'm now a tester and I would like to be a data scientist. Can I be? What should I do?
Right.
How do I prove myself? You have to have community. If you don't have that, it's just, you will never know. You will never have the exposure. So that needs to be a lot more systematic that normally is in companies. In our types of companies, especially as we deliver innovation, um, without that, we're nothing. So that's what we're going to improve now as I'm moving forward. But those are kind of for me, the three top, I would say.
How do you stay grounded and focused on your mental health and just your regular health?
So when I am one of those that kind of goes fast and then stops, but I don't like, I had like a high low. It's like very difficult to have a middle speed. Some of them, that's how the mind works. So I run almost every day, like relax, not a crazy. I used to do CrossFit before. It was a little bit too intense. Now I'm older, so I need to watch it. And I run. So physical activity is very good for me. It kind of relaxes me a lot. And then one of my kind of passions is music. So I play piano and I try to keep up with it. So, that also is another kind of, for me, it's like meditation when I play the piano. It's like, it's a different wave in the brain that kind of
Sure.
activates. And then I have four kids. So I'm busy with other things. And so I make myself busy. We have activities that we do as a family, and I try to do a lot of family and friends. So that kind of keeps me more grounded. When I am traveling a lot, I normally just pause for a week and then take a few days off. And it's in throughout the career, one learns to read. You learn to read yourself and say, okay, well, I'm getting to saturation point. I gotta, let's disconnect for a day and take a morning. Sometimes it's a morning. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
morning relaxes you. Then you move on. you know Cheat a little things that I like to do, like go check myself into a movie theater and just watch a movie by myself. you know
Yeah, that's the best
where
thing
is
ever.
he? Well, he's like, I mean, he's relaxing, just little things, little sins
Yeah.
like that. Or go and get myself an ice cream, stupid things like that. You think, little things in life are the ones that make, when you're stressed, you just cheat a bit. Little things, healthy ones.
That's incredible. What are like some products or apps or things like that that you use on your daily in your daily life on a daily basis that you could not live without?
Well, um obviously I use all the work stuff, the Google Suite. We're a big Google Suite in the
Hmm.
company. Everything we do, like all the workspace is online. So I think that is essential. Zoom and or any other collaboration tool is essential because we have teams distributed everywhere, so we use it all the time. And then other things that I have is, I use the news app a lot, like, because I just read quickly what's going on. I read the New York Times online, which gives me kind of a perspective that I think is more serious on certain things that I want to read, and I read that's my paper basically.
Mhm.
And then I try not to use. I do not like social media. Really, I find it stressful. I watch a little bit of Instagram once in a while, and then I use WhatsApp a lot because we have teams, not only teams but also friends. I have my high school friends from Argentina. I'm from Argentina originally. In a WhatsApp group, and I follow that, so I'm connected to my friends. So WhatsApp, WhatsApp, it's not very common in the US, but it's super common
Yeah.
outside of the US. And anywhere, any other country except the US, it's big WhatsApp, and that keeps me connected. My oldest daughter right now is in Argentina, is in Buenos Aires, so we keep up with what's going on. So that's probably where most of my day. But because of the WhatsApp, but I find it a lot better because it's a control set group of people that you would discuss things and send photos on this. I don't have the urge to publish anything social,
Yeah.
you know. And I've seen that people like publish their whole life publicly. I'm very private. I find it very, I don't know, like it's an invasion of intimacy public. We used to publish before when I was a little bit younger, just maybe social pressure, like everybody was publishing, you would publish, but at one point it's like, this is silly.
What do you think of like the role that CEOs now play in today's world where they have to have some sort of opinion or some sort of take on what's happening outside of their company, right? Like you see, like kind of, for example, we have an election coming up in the United States. There's elections happening around the world this year, like and economic environment, economic policies, things like that. How do you view your role as CEO in kind of that conversation that's happening?
No, I think that it's important that we make an opinion, at least because the private companies. If you look at private companies, CEOs. Normally, people look at Wall Street and everything that's going on in Wall Street because they are regulated and they're very outspoken in the market, and they are the larger ones. But if you look at the private equity world, it's much bigger than what you see online media, right? So private equity companies hold most of the wealth. I don't think that there's enough focus on kind of more private company CEOs and what they're experiencing. I think that the private company CEO, which normally are smaller companies, are a little bit more balanced in our approach. We don't have to change the. I mean, we are making a lot of innovation, but we don't have that kind of change the world attitude or like revolutionary attitude.
Mhm.
So I think that it would be good for media to have a more structured approach to how you pick CEO profiles for to make opinions. Because in my case, I think I'm more balanced, and you ask me, what do you think about X or Y situation? I'm going to give you a rational kind of opinion, not something that's one side or what because I have a deal here or there. Because I probably not, have a
Yeah.
deal with a politician or anything. So I feel like a lot of the guys that go into media is because there's some ulterior motive for them to go to media that would somehow influence their wealth or whatever. I think we need to have more neutral CEO positions where intelligent people that really look at situations and give a more balanced, opinion on subjects rather than very kind of one-sided. I
Yeah.
think it contributes to the way the media is treating that contributes to polarization. Because at one point, if that's all you show, somebody is saying black and the other saying white, and you don't have the people don't think anymore. They just would think, oh, I feel better. It's the emotional thing of all this polarization needs to be kind of controlled a bit, and the only way that you do it is through rational like logic, right? Okay, why is this guy saying this and this and that? And there are a lot of people that can actually be pretty good at explaining why you're saying what you're saying in a much more neutral way. So that's my perspective. Again, I think that it's imbalanced, right
Yeah.
now, and definitely it's a good place to start looking, right? And make sure that there are other types of CEOs in the mix.
Finally, we ask everybody the same question in every interview, and that is at CEO.com, we believe the chances one gives is just as important as the chances one takes. I wonder, when you hear that, who gave you a chance to get you to where you are today?
So I was in Argentina. We started a company. I was one of the first joiners of the company, and the reason that we started it because we thought, there was an economic imbalance in Argentina, like there always is. Unfortunately, it's a very crazy country, economically speaking, and this is like 2000s, early 2000s. There was an economic crisis of the same magnitude that there is now, ish, similar. And the imbalance was that the peso was the Argentinian peso was so cheap at that point that we rendered, the professionals in Argentina were very cheap, so we could actually be very talented and much cost advantage versus the US or the UK. And that was the reason that we started the company, because they would give us opportunity because we had the talent as engineers and we were cheaper, right, at that moment. So one of the guys in the company said, why don't you go and help us open the operation in the UK? That was the first. And I ended up in the US later, but I lived a few years in London. I'm Argentinian Italian, so I could do it. We didn't have any papers and nothing to operate in the UK, but I was a European citizen, so I could live in the UK. But without that person that trusted me, I wouldn't have been able to do that. But then I stayed 13 years there, and we went public. So from nothing to a company that's one of the most successful companies in the world. So I did give back to them. Yeah, and then obviously, I've given opportunities to other people as well, that then I had. I got a lot of my co-patriots to live in different countries, take executive positions, make a lot of money. It's always great to see that. When you're like, and by the way, a lot of those people that this is, a long time ago, 20 plus years, are still working with me today. So because we just found ourselves, you find yourself in that. And then there's this trust that, they know who I am. I know who they are. Right. And sometimes it works, sometimes they just leave, but we find ourselves in different adventures. Right. So that's the beauty of it, because, people like me spend a lot of time working. That's the reality. But it's not just, it's more living. The line between this work-life balance thing. Well, the balance is not having a clear enjoying it, because you're going to be doing something, right? So there are people that enjoy differently. In my case, I enjoy work a lot. So for me, that's part of living. And then that's why, most of my friendships are formed and were formed in these adventures that we had together,
I love that. Hey, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you, Andres. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seriously, what an honor.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on.